Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rahim Bhatia.
Good morning. Welcome to this morning's opening session around APIs and microservices. This morning we'll talk about how to modernize your architectures, create that great business agility, and create those last mile experiences. And we'll talk about the last mile in just a moment here. This morning, our CEO, Mike Gregoire, talked about the modern software factory and how this is a blueprint for our customers to be able to travel through this period of rapid change. The customer experience, incorporating software into your business, is a critical strategic imperative. And CA, we have this blueprint to enable you to travel through this change, to be able to create your own modern software factory where you're able to meld your traditional self with your new digital self. In support of the modern software factory, you'll hear today and throughout the next couple of days from customers, partners, as well as our own experts around how to modernize these architectures. But along with that, CA has some great capabilities that are very, very complementary. As you're building your modern software factory, you'll want to think about how to automate your core development processes, how to manage the work that your teams are doing through agile management, how to get analytics and insights from those applications, all with a security-first mindset. And at CA, we're able to deliver that at scale. This is all in support of that last mile experience. Now, we borrow this term, the last mile, from the telecommunications industry. They spent billions of dollars laying the infrastructure to enable modern communications. However, they're not able to monetize or fully monetize all of that unless they're able to connect all of that capability to the home or business to enable these communications. In a similar way, each of you have government organizations and businesses that also spend a tremendous amount of capital in developing your products, your services. However, if you're not able to connect that with the right last mile experience, you're not going to be able to fully capitalize on all of those other investments that you've made. Now, we talk about the last mile as being the critical important thing. However, we also know that the journey actually begins with the first mile, which is making sure that you have the right architecture in place. So let's take a look at what some of your peers have been able to achieve in the past while. What a great set of last mile experiences. And again, all of this was done because of the investments in APIs and microservices. To stress the point further, here's a report from Forrester Research that was recently released. And it showed a strong linkage between investing in APIs and the prioritization of digital businesses. And this is proven out over and over again. We wanted to, at CA, delve deeper into what the business values of APIs and API management was. So we actually partnered with Coleman Parks, a research firm, to survey 1,700 individuals across the globe to find out what are the specific business values that they're able to achieve with the investment of full lifecycle API management versus not. And some of the results were pretty astounding. 47% better on average overall results than just basic API management. And 89% better results over those organizations that had no investment in APIs. And if you double click on those further in terms of what makes up those business results, take a look at these other metrics. 89% improved customer experience scores. 85% improved ecosystem reach with the ecosystem partners. 87% streamlined supply chain. And there are many, many others that we can cite, but these are all specific last mile experience metrics. But nothing makes numbers come to life than a real world example. This morning, Mike Gregoire gave you a behind the scenes look on how we partnered with Eurosport, how they used two very complementary CA solutions, API management and app experience analytics, to provide this amazing immersive experience. Now, this immersive experience is so critical in live sporting events today, whether it be football or cycling or otherwise. You can see how analytics and engagement is a critical part of the new experience. So you see that video, you've heard me talk about it, but you can actually see that live just over there, where you can see the bike, the APIs, the solutions come together in what this great immersive experience looks like. And as further incentive, we'll be actually giving away a Trek voucher. So I really encourage you to see the demo so that you're eligible to win. Which kind of brings up an interesting question. Alexa, who won the Tour de France?
Chris Froome, riding with Team Sky, took home the yellow jersey. He finished ahead of Uran Rigoberto in second and Bardet Roman in third.
Wow, that's great. Which reminds me, I need to order an Uber. Alexa, order an Uber.
There is an Uber X 20 minutes away from your Alexa address. Should I order it?
No, not right now. I'm here all day, so I'm not going anywhere today. And who's that playing again at the concert, Counting Crows? Alexa, play Mr. Jones by Counting Crows.
Mr. Jones by Counting Crows.
Amazing. Last year, on this very stage, we provided some key statistics in terms of how that last mile was going to be different than just mobile. We talked about how Gardiner predicts that within 4 years, 30% of all web searches will be done without a screen. Imagine a world like that, where the expectation for engagement is about at the speed of human thought. Now, luckily today, there's friction on the user side because our thumbs move a lot slower than we're able to randomly think. Take a look at the example that we just went through with Alexa. I wanted to find out who won Tour de France. I wanted to order an Uber, and I want to play music, all in a span of less than a minute. This is the type of engagement that customers will expect from you. And what happens when your systems are not able to respond to that expectation? What does that feel like? Kind of like that. We've all seen the stats about how mobile apps are abandoned if they're not responsive. Imagine how natural processing language is and what expectations that creates. I really encourage you to look at our demo over there. It's a live demo with Alexa there. And you can see how not only do we have solutions that enable your business initiatives for today, but we're actually also preparing for the world of tomorrow, which, by the way, is not too far away. If you take a look at the partnership between Walmart and Google Home, for example, that's an indicator of things to come, of how Alexa is so ingrained in people's homes. This is pretty much already here. So I encourage you to, again, take a look at the demo. As you're going down the journey of leveraging APIs and microservices, there are going to be some critical obstacles that you'll come across. Things such as lack of skilled resources, or time to develop an API, or ability to scale the usage and management of those APIs? Well, luckily, that's exactly the reason why customers come to CA. And we have the ability to address all of these key concerns as you will encounter them. In the past year, we maintained our leadership standing in the Gardiner Magic Quadrant with an overall highest ability to execute on that quadrant. And this quote actually sums it up nicely. CA has solid security features and good coverage of API design, API management, mobile support, and the remaining full lifecycle management. This full lifecycle management capability is critically important. First of all, it allows you to address those broad set of use cases that you'll have to address with API management. Second, you make sure that your investments are not fragmented. And third, as we saw with the Coleman Park study, there are some significant business benefits that are gained by leveraging full lifecycle API management. At CA, we believe we have the most comprehensive set of capabilities across full lifecycle API management. All the way from being able to design the API to make sure that the data rendered to the user is exactly what you want it to be, to testing the APIs on the targeted environments, to being able to secure those APIs, orchestrate them, expose those APIs to developers so they're very, very quickly productive, and provide the rich analytics that you require to be able to understand what that journey of the API is. Again, we have a full capability across all these different areas. And purposefully, this year, we've actually organized our content area to mimic this API lifecycle. So you can actually take the journey throughout the lifecycle, or if there's a specific area that you want to discover of this lifecycle, you can certainly do that as well. Which brings us to our first Breaking Barrier Award. And within this talk today, we'll be highlighting some key customers that we feel are doing some great innovative work. It's an opportunity for us to learn from them, see what their journey looked like, and certainly celebrate their successes. So our first award winner, and I'd like to welcome Daniel to the stage, is Prodam. Welcome on stage, Daniel. Congratulations. Now, Prodam is a government-owned entity in Sao Paulo in Brazil. They manage all the infrastructure as well as the data processing for the city of Sao Paulo. Again, I think that Prodam certainly exemplifies how to leverage the full API lifecycle capabilities. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Prodam and your initiative that you drove?
All right. Prodam is the IT agency of the state of Amazonas, not São Paulo. But Prodam sets out not only to provide digital service, but to promote a change of the culture in our society through our vision of government as a platform and government as a service. And we really trust that this is the better way to improve the interaction between citizen and the government, to empower the entrepreneur, and to reduce some costs of the government. These pillars are the base and the foundation for smart cities.
Awesome, that's great. I think you've got some critical challenges such as geography in the middle of the Amazon, different levels of digital literacy, if you will, that can be a potential hindrance. What tools and capabilities do you use to achieve this transformative change for the citizens that you just talked through?
We have many challenges in Amazonas because we are a big state. Making an American comparison, we are 3 times bigger than Texas. And we need to provide service to citizens that are located in the capital or even in the middle of the rainforest. And our challenge is exactly this, how to provide this service with quality. And API infrastructure can allow us to provide this. So you use a wide range of the CA portfolio to provide this.
Awesome. And what are some of the benefits that you can cite that you've already seen as a result of the great initiative that you've been driving?
We have many benefits that we are delivering to the citizen. We are reducing the time to provide service to the citizen. We are reducing costs to in the government, and we are increasing the interaction between the citizen and the government. It's important because the government is not in the center,
right,
but the citizen is in the center of the platform.
Awesome, that's great. Well, thank you so much. Present you with your award. And congratulations again.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Rahim.
Great stuff. Thank you. Thanks so much. Daniel, ladies and gentlemen. So as you saw, we are absolutely obsessed about this full API lifecycle. And so we want to make sure that we're continually innovating across this full lifecycle. So there are a set of new solutions that we want to talk about, and you can see all of them on the show floor. But I'll give you a little bit of a highlight as to what these are. The first one, and again, this is a partnership that we've done with our continuous delivery business unit here at CA in creating an API testing solution, which provides an automatic way to generate load tests for the published APIs. You can quickly test these APIs with clicks, not code, saving hours in development time. And as you heard this morning, speed is of the essence in terms of addressing that iterative approach to the customer experience. And we know that you value immediacy, so you can actually get immediate results. So I encourage you to take a look at this great solution. The second one I want to talk about is our API developer portal. We've completely re-architected this to make sure that you have the ability to deploy this easily wherever your APIs or apps reside. We have an API-first approach in terms of architecting the solution, which improves administrative access, but also allows you to leverage any of the other technology investments that you've made, such as CMS and analytics. And we've really focused on that user experience, whether it be for the API provider or that API consumer. The other new solution we have is bringing together the best of mobile from across CA with a solution that delivers three-way trust security with frictionless access, using the device DNA, the identity, and the app to achieve this. Again, developer speed is critical, and so we provide the SDKs, which offers a wide range of authentication options. And we're able to accelerate secure app development in hours versus weeks. Another one, again, being part of CA is such a critical part of being in API management. We're able to partner with our Agile Operations business unit to deliver a solution around precision API monitoring, where you can have a 360-degree view of the API health. You can prioritize those services, those responses that are impacting critical services. And accelerating root cause analysis, make sure that you're able to reduce outages by over 80%. To add to this, we've actually done an acquisition of another company called Runscope, which bridges that gap between dev and operations and provides even further capability around monitoring your APIs. Which brings me to sort of the next Breaking Barrier Award. Can I please ask Gautam from JPMorgan Chase to please come up on stage? Congratulations, Gautam, and thanks so much for your partnership. I know you've worked with CA for a period of time. If you could just tell the audience, I mean, I've read a lot about JPMorgan Chase in the press and how you're innovating in the space of fintech and mobile apps. Tell the audience a little bit about what you've been up to.
So most of our innovation is around customer engagement and a positive banking experience. So most of the announcements that you've seen is changing the mundane task of banking into a more engaging experience for a modern consumer, AKA the millennials. Overworked, overused word, but that's really what we are targeting.
Awesome, awesome, that's great. Second question that I have for you is that, we've talked about the customer experience. The developer experience is also important, and how are you enabling sort of the developer experience with the technology set that you have?
So I've been on both sides of the fence, and it's very easy for a developer to be saddled with security as a stick, not as a tool, but hey, you didn't do this and this was affected. So what we've done is tried to provide, again, using an overused word, but security and controls as a service, so that's available within the developer community, and it can provide a much more engaging experience, and the app developer is focused on the experience rather than being saddled with the security issues that come along.
That's awesome. And what kind of sort of general technologies do you use to help you achieve these things here?
Well, a host of them. So anything we need for a positive security-first experience, so whether it's encryption, single sign-on, different kinds of authentication, multi-factor, all the rules and fiduciary responsibilities, you name it. It's a host of suites and technologies, including a lot of in our mobile ecosystem.
Awesome, that's great. We talked about security and we talked about developers. And there's always an innovation, and there's always this balance that you have to strike between security and innovation. How do you at JP Morgan Chase kind of think about balancing those two kind of concepts?
So security is primary and foremost because of the industry and it being banking. But we've learned that just because it's primary, innovation doesn't need to be a compromise. So with the new partnerships and the new engagement models and how we are delivering the engagement experience, I think innovation and balancing the security is becoming more normal than an inefficient task.
Right, so. Awesome. Great, well, congratulations. Thanks again for your partnership.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks. All right. So, we talked about full lifecycle API management. We're now going to talk about microservices, which is the new area that we're moving into. But when you're kind of reflecting, or when you're going to the future, it's also important to take a pause to see where you've come from. So as you know, Layer 7 was acquired by CA a few years back with its great heritage in security with a market-leading API gateway product. It came into CA and we focused on some core elements to continue to expand the capability of our portfolio, focusing on things like customer experience, that full lifecycle API management, figuring out how we incorporate into practices like DevOps and Agile, and finally into microservices. And I don't believe that we would have actually been able to do that if we weren't actually part of the CA family for a couple of fundamental reasons. First of all, we talked about some great solutions that we've partnered on with some of the other parts of CA to deliver that full lifecycle capability. But even if we don't create those solutions, the experience and the expertise required around understanding DevOps, Agile, security as an example, we are able to leverage all of that expertise all in the CA family, which makes our solutions better because we do know that you're not thinking about just API management in isolation. You have a broad project to deliver, and all these concepts are under consideration for you. So certainly having access to those key experts allows us to better understand how that solution is going to fit in with your key business initiatives. To stress again the importance of microservices, here's another chart from the Forrester Research Report from Randy Hefner, who, by the way, will be speaking on the stage at 12:45, going through this in a little bit more detail, around the linkage between prioritizing digital businesses and the investment in microservices. And again, the linkage is very much clear. The other important point in this research study was that only 5% of microservices initiatives are actually mature in terms of having production-ready capability, the dynamic scaling, and the security, and other host of metrics or capabilities you need in high-quality services. So as customers and organizations are starting to take a look at microservices, certainly there is a lot of capability that we can bring to bear to continue to increase your maturity. So our foundation in full lifecycle API management allows us to actually expand into microservices with the capabilities to create those back-end services that are integrated to data, able to manage and secure those APIs that front-end those services, and then be able to expose those service APIs for developers, for mobile apps or IoT development. So the critical new solutions that we have that we'd like to talk about for the next little while, and I encourage you to see all of these solutions in action, is Live API Creator. This is one of the critical solutions as part of our microservices offering, which allows you to create these low-code APIs and microservices in a matter of minutes. You can integrate enterprise data sources with fine-grained access control, because we know that security is at the forefront for what you want to do. And you can have enterprise-grade APIs and microservices that support those high transaction volumes, because scalability is very, very critical to you. In conjunction with that, we have our award-winning Micro Gateway that we're actually featuring here today as well. Now, on September 29th at API World, we actually won the award for our Micro Gateway in terms of addressing microservices patterns. Certainly, we're very, very proud of that, and I encourage you to take a look at the demo for that. And you will see how we've created a developer-friendly capability that's very, very developer-friendly. We didn't just say, let's take the gateway and make it smaller. We actually invested in the qualities of the Micro Gateway for how it needs to behave in a DevOps environment, how it needs to be simple for developers to be able to use. How do we abstract away some of the capability that an enterprise architect may want, but maybe a developer doesn't want, and how do we make it behave in a very, very ephemeral way that's going to be required for this type of an offering. To give you that fine-grained last-mile security, to support tens of thousands of services, because again, scale is important to you, and it works with the Live API Creator we talked about. So you have an ability to get a solution that enables that end-to-end capability. With this combination, we've got the industry's only low-code microservices solution, providing enterprise security, service discovery at scale, and intelligent traffic management, enabling hundreds of microservices to be able to develop in minutes. And I certainly encourage you to look at all of those demos. Which brings us to our final Breaking Barrier Awards. Can I please ask Lou from Vanek Digital to please come up on stage? Welcome, Lou. Thank you so much. I guess this example is an example of CA and partners actually breaking barriers together.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about tell us about Vanek Digital, first of all,
Yep.
and some of the initiatives that you're driving around microservices architecture.
Sure. First, I just want to recognize our talented team. They're the reason that we're being recognized here this morning. But what Vanek Digital has been up to is a lot of the things that you've seen on screen this morning. The customers that we're talking to are trying to solve the same problems that you've recognized as exceptional. They're looking at all of the innovation going on in mobile that their customers are demanding, and all of the things going on with voice recognition and AI, and they're trying to figure out how do they meet that. So they're looking at changing behavior. So they're looking at how do we create innovation? How do we create the ability to pivot quickly? And how do we build these new capabilities? And the good news for us is that they're through Forrester and the things that you've shown today and your proclamations, as well as Gardiner, that API and API layers are creating that layer of abstraction that's allowing customers to move more quickly in the organization. So that's out there. And where Vanek is coming in is looking at how these customers approach solving those problems. So implementing an API layer isn't about just implementing technology, it's a shift in how you deliver technology to the marketplace. So Vanek's going to our customers and trying to recognize where are they at, meeting them where they are, helping them put together a plan with full understanding of all of the things that need to be in place to deliver successfully, and then putting that plan together that'll allow them to continue doing what they do while they become more innovative.
Awesome. So you're helping your customers, but there must be some challenges. What are the key challenges that you find customers are facing today in terms of adopting microservices and APIs in general?
Sure. Microservices is great. Actually, you know, over the last 5 years, we've seen this progression where almost every customer we're talking to today is saying, we want to do microservices. And we're like, fantastic. And the challenges that we're seeing are a couple of predominant challenges. The first one is, what should be a microservice? So that concept of where do I start to deconstruct monoliths into microservices and how I measure that. So some folks take that approach of I'm just going to deconstruct the monolith, and the question is, really, what are you constructing and how are you deriving value from it? Not everything necessarily should be a microservice.
That's right.
And the second one is in implementing the technology. So they're really good at implementing these technologies, but microservices aren't necessarily about technologies, they're about outcomes. So when we start looking at realizing the outcomes of microservice, you start to look at things like organizational change and financial models and business processes and the mentality that goes around how we deliver in DevOps.
Right.
And all of those things become the challenge for the organization, not necessarily the technology.
Awesome, that's great. And you know our solutions very, very well.
Yes.
Help us understand how you're applying these technologies and how they're helping customers generally.
Sure, yeah, we're excited about the micro gateway. We see all kinds of problems that is going to solve for. So over the last couple of years, it's been coming in waves where this might fit. And the first place is when companies are creating microservices, they're creating something that is an elastically scalable a component. Right. So when you've got massive scale and you're taking something and you're creating the ability to go from 20 to 500 instances of a microservice, you now have this challenge of a bottleneck at the gateway. The gateway has to also be able to scale to meet that demand, and this microservice architecture gives you that component that allows that to happen.
Awesome.
And the second one is in distributed architectures, where we see med tech companies, shipping companies, and some guys in the power and energy that we've talked to that all have this challenge of wanting to deploy entire systems on ships or in plants, and they want to put that gateway out in front of that and do that in a massive way, in an enormous scale way. And the big advantage is they're using your gateways already, so they've already got an investment in the technology and the processes and all of those things. So being able to take your micro gateway and deploy that at scale is a tremendous benefit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your partnership and congratulations.
Thank you.
Give you a word again. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All the best. Thank you. Great stuff. And Lou made a very, very critical point here, right? Which is that the offerings that we have, we know that there are some people in the audience that are our customers already, and there are others that are potentially, hopefully, new customers for us here at CA for API management. And we are intent on protecting the investments that you've already made and make sure that we have an ability to have an additive value to those investments. So over the past while, we reflected where we came from with the acquisition of Layer 7 to being part of the CA family, to being able to have that full lifecycle API management capability, and now moving into microservices. And over that course and that journey that we've been on, we've been racking up some really critical and proud moments in terms of validation out there in the market space. We're a leader in top 4 analyst reports, Ovum, Forrester, Cooper & Cole, as well as Gardiner. And as I talked about earlier, we won a very, very critical award for our micro gateway in terms of addressing that microservices pattern. And we're the #1 user-reviewed solution in IT Central for API management. So these are some fantastic awards we've racked up over the course of our journey. But the thing that I'm most proud of is, quite frankly, our people. And Lou mentioned it as well, that none of this would happen without the people we have in place. So at CA World, we've got a cross-functional set of people right here to address your needs, all the way from sales to pre-sales to our development team to our product management team and everything in between. These guys and gals are passionate about what they do. They think about your success in API management day in and day out. I ask you to go to them and tell them your challenges. Tell them what your barriers are, and then challenge them to help you break them. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great show. Thank you.